Hello, folks. Thanks for joining me. We're on the Katy Trail today. We're heading from Weldon Spring Trailhead to the Matson Trailhead. Now, there was rain earlier in the day, so the trail's a bit wet. You'll see some puddles, and certainly the surface is wet, so that's getting a lot of wet dust on my bike. But no matter. It's still beautiful. Enjoy the scenery. If you're interested in a full run from Weldon Spring to Herman, I'll post that hopefully eventually. This is a multi-use trail, non-motorized vehicles, so no ATVs, but why would you want to ride an ATV on here? But you can ride a bicycle, presumably skateboards and scooters, electric scooters, but yeah, they want the noise of motorized vehicles, so no cars or anything like that. But walking, running, all that kind of stuff, absolutely. Bicycling, yes, for sure. This is a fairly flat surface. It's supposed to gain something like 374 feet in elevation. Of course, we're low. We're right next to the Missouri River for much of this portion of the trail. It may seem like you're just out in the middle of the woods, but we're not Davy Crockett. And there's a road on one side or the other that you can see or hear most of the way. And while the trailheads may be a goodly distance apart sometimes, there's often other roads that intersect with the Katy Trail. There's other trails that intersect that you can take to, wherever those trails happen to go, like that one. Now, since this is adjacent to the Missouri River, there are a lot of creeks and streams and things that dump into the river. So there's a lot of bridges like this one that cross over those creeks and streams. And the bridges are all kinds of different bridges. Well, probably 6 different types. Maybe it's the construction is different. They may all be called, or many of them may be called the same thing. The same type of bridge, that is. Now you can listen to me ramble, or you can mute the audio, but these Katy Trail videos are meant to be run with a treadmill. So you can watch the footage as you run along on the treadmill. Or you can do it with your stationary bike as well. Now the full-length video, if I can ever get it to post, or to render actually. I just left the sights and sounds as they were. I don't ramble on that one. Now this part, of course, has the forest canopy, if you will. But not all of this run is like that. One of the good things about running this at this time of year, we didn't have a mosquito problem. A lot of times there's mosquitoes on the trail, which aren't that, they don't make the ride enjoyable. They kind of tilt it in another direction. So here's another bridge. You can see the construction on this one is significantly different from the construction on the previous bridge. I just thought I'd give you a couple pictures here so you'd see some of the structure. You can see the creek is very low. Yes, our rainfall has been less than stellar this year. Something I want to point out. So these trailheads, even though they have the name of a given town on them, that does not mean that they're in that town. The Weldon Spring trailhead that we just departed a bit ago, for example, is not in Weldon Spring. I don't know how the trailheads happen to be named for towns in which they're not located. And it's not isolated to things on the Katy Trail. You have banks that are named for a town they're not in. Colleges, same thing. In the case of a college or a bank, I can see them expanding into another town and keeping their same name. But in the case of a trailhead, I mean, you don't... It's not an economic opportunity. You have two Weldon Spring trailheads in different towns or something like that. It's not like they picked it up from Weldon Spring and moved it and kept the same name. They're riding together, so they're riding apart. when you're riding these trails, you have to be prepared for anything, as you'll see in one of my later kiddie trail videos. Some people are out on the trail to enjoy, whatever's out there. They're living in the moment. They're happy to see other people. They'll acknowledge other people and whatnot. Some people are completely in their own world. They're not aware of anyone else on the trail. Like I said, they're completely in their own world and just oblivious. And they intend to do their thing regardless of what anyone else may or may be doing. And there's everything in between. But in this video, you'll see some cases where we see some people that are definitely somewhere in between, that they're not necessarily in their own little world. They're just kind of not aware of everything around them as much as they probably should be. In this area, there's a lot of restaurants, wineries, things like that, well, along a lot of this route. And there's also at some of the stops, there's bike shops, things like that. During the summer months in this area, there are live concerts that you can hear right in this particular area. From here all the way through to, I don't know if it's Defiance or they all go all the way to Augusta. Now the quality of these live bands varies somewhat. There was one particular ride I came through here, and this guy was playing a guitar, singing. I think there were a couple other instruments, but it took me a while to figure out what song they were trying to play. And then I wished I hadn't. People are entitled to their own interpretation of a particular song, just the same as I'm entitled to my opinion of their interpretation. But just because you have an interpretation of a song doesn't mean that you have improved on it. And I really couldn't tell if they were trying to do their own interpretation of the song, or if that was just the best they could play. Now, partially because this trail is next to a river, there are a lot of different activities that happen along this trail. This trail actually is a very beneficial thing to the towns along the trail. Some of the businesses along this trail in various places actually face the trail. Everything is designed to be accessed from the trail. It's not that you can't get to those businesses the other way, just that would be the back of the business. They're not turning you away. There are ways to get there, but their business often comes primarily from the trail. So in one respect, the trail can kind of look like it just goes on forever and ever, and I believe it's like 237 or 239 miles long, something like that. Now, some people run that in a day, but I am not one of those people. Somewhere around 20 miles, the seat of my person. It's pretty uncomfortable. And around 60 miles, I'm kind of done. I have other things to do. And I need to be able to walk around to do those things. And of course, there's the speed aspect. I just don't ride. You have to average over 18 miles an hour for that entire distance. And I'm not in good enough condition to do that. Actually, I'm not inclined to do it either. I might miss something. As you've seen, like at that one bridge, I'm prone to stop and take pictures. Sometimes I see other trails and I go explore that trail. I'm out to enjoy myself, but I want to explore, the adventure. That's what I'm after. Going 239 miles and having no idea what occurred along that distance it's kind of like a waste of time, in my opinion, for me. You can see this area is more open, at least on one side of the trail back there. Now, when you're driving a car, whatever type of car that is, usually you see the other cars. They're that same model. You ride a bike, you see other bikes. It's interesting to see the bikes other people choose to ride. Now, my bike certainly is not a mountain bike, but it certainly is not a cruiser either. This is just a little Sunday ride, getting my riding in while the weather is good. They're predicting lots of cold and lots of snow again this year. Of course, they told us that the last 2 years. And, I really can't recall the weatherman actually being right. So this has been a fun little ride. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll be back soon with another video.